Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. I'm Juan Ayala, and welcome to Actors with Issues. Each week, we bring you interviews with actors from across TV, film, and Broadway, taking many deep dives into their careers and getting into the successes, the struggles, and of course, the issues that they face as actors. That's enough about us. Let's dive into the episode. You know, today's guest from Netflix's Glow, Blue Moon Ball, Banking on Christmas, and Billie Eilish might say he's a bad guy, but we don't think so. Please welcome to the stage, Eric Lutz. Eric, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's actually Eric Lutz. Sorry about that. I don't mean to throw that.
So before we dive into the show and the issues, we always start with a quick game. So just pick a number between 1, 2, or 3.
We got to go 1.
All right, number 1 is a game called Getting to Know You. It's our classic game, so some this or that. We'll start with an easy one, coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Morning person or night owl?
Oh my goodness. I've been a night owl all my life, but the older I get, I'm loving those early mornings.
Film or TV?
Film.
Drama or comedy?
Comedy.
Hero or villain?
Ooh, you know what? Villain is just the hero with a little bit of spice on it. But you know what? Let's go hero.
Yeah, villains are the heroes in their story, you know.
There you go. Exactly.
They're the protagonists. Stage or screen?
Oh, stage has my heart. That immediate gratification is no other. And that's why I fell in love with drama. But screen, we got to go screen.
Yeah. What director are you dying to work with?
Oh, there's so many. That's such a tough question. I've worked with very, very talented ones. What I would like to say is I'm going to leave it open. I really enjoy working with directors who have been actors before.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, they very much bring in a fresh perspective and can see things like through your lens and whatnot, and can get a little more into the nitty gritty, you know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of, we'll do a couple takes this way and then go for it because they understand that we're all, creatives. And so, yeah.
What is the last show that you binge watched?
Last show that so talking about comedy, Chad and JT, it's on Netflix. Sorry about that, Chad and JT. Chad and JT, oh my goodness, I can't think about it. Sorry, that and also The Rehearsal on HBO. So,
I've heard great things about it.
Have you seen either?
I have not, no.
It's Nathan For You meets Inception meets something else, but it's deep. Wow. Yeah.
Do you do any impressions or accents? And if so, can we hear one?
Oh yeah. All right. The amount of times I go into a audition room or acting class and they assume I'm Australian, I just go with it. I don't do that, but I don't know how multiple times I've gone into different acting classes and I've met them like, how you doing? My name's Eric. And they're like, you're Australian. I'm like, all right. And then at the end of the day, they're like, your English accent is so good. And I'm like, yeah, I was born and raised in the Midwest. They're like, what? I'm like, I mean, I'll let you think what you want to think.
Right. So, it's like improv. Yes. Yeah. And you're Australian. Yes, I am.
And. Exactly.
What is your favorite comedy series of all time?
Favorite comedy series of all time. Have you ever seen Righteous Gemstones?
I have to now because I think it got some Critics' Choice nominations, and I'm part of that. So I have lots of watching to do before our show in January.
Righteous Gemstones is amazing, and then like Danny McBride made that, and he also made a ton of great series. So I really enjoy his stuff. Yeah.
And lastly, describe your most memorable audition in 3 words, and memorable can be good or bad. So dealer's choice.
Okay, good or bad. To be honest, my most memorable. All right, here come the 3 words. Myself, relaxed, authentic.
Can you say what the audition was for?
Yeah, it was the first leading role I ever booked. It was Banking on Christmas. Nice. So, yeah, and it was completely just myself. There was no overthinking. There was no this, that, the other. So those 3 words nailed it. And then, when they brought me in, like, yeah, this is exactly what we want. So,
yeah. Awesome. So you were born and raised in Kansas, and it was at in college in Kansas State University that you sort of discovered your love of acting. So how did all of that start for you? Was it just like a random acting class you took to fulfill a credit, or how did that happen?
All right. So when I was 18 years old, I was a contestant on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? So if you remember that show,
Yeah.
and I won money on it, and it was a cool opportunity. And the executive producer took me around through the back and was introducing me to everybody because that was before Zoom and all these. We had to literally during the interview process call them on the phone, put it on speakerphone. It was like a landline probably, and I had a friend with like a video camera come over and record us, and then we had to put that tape in the mail and send it to them. So it was crazy what we had to do for the process.
Mhm.
And so we had to do multiple interviews because of that. People who work behind the scenes were like, "Oh, hey, we feel like we know you," type thing. It was, I don't know. Anyways, we met them. They really liked me. I brought in, some energy, and they offered me an internship once I graduated college. But I had to
Cool.
graduate college.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna write TV shows. Are you kidding me? I've always wanted to work in movies, TV. But in my mind, I go, if I'm out there and there's a casting that's fit for me, I'll do it. But I don't know if I can act. So I take an acting class. My first theater teacher just looked at me and said, "You're gonna do this," and I was like, I'm a football player. Like, nah, she's like, "Are you gonna make it to the NFL?" And I was like, she was like, "You're gonna do this." And the very cool thing is that was when Modern Family was like right in the prime, and she had actually coached Eric Stone Street. And so she had that of like, I know things when I see it. But yeah, started doing theater, fell in love with it, got, you know, um, yeah, just really, really loved it. Oh man, I miss theater, that immediate gratification, that at intermission, the director coming in saying, you guys are going too fast. You need to, you feel it? Yeah, yeah. You guys are going too slow. You need to speed it up. Yeah, yeah. And then going out that and just crushing it. I mean, it's really fun, really
Mhm.
fun. But yeah, that's what got me into it originally. Is I had an opportunity to come out here, knew I was going to come out here, and then said, well, yeah, that is a great opportunity, but I know my true love, if I'm good at it, would be in front. So
Mhm.
it all started with that.
And since you've done more things on screen and you're in LA and theaters is still a little bit scarce out there, do you have like a bucket list Broadway play or something like that?
I don't I don't necessarily have a bucket list Broadway play. I'll be honest, I didn't know really much theater when I started doing it.
Mhm.
The first couple things I did were big too, and it was great. But as far as I didn't grow up with the family that was taking us to go see Broadway or talking about Broadway a lot. So it was funny to start. Work all the theater kids had been doing that forever, and to be the one that's like oh, I don't know about that, I don't know about that, like what are you talking about, so it I'm not exactly sure. I
Mhm.
really really don't know, but I just know from doing theater itself I love
And you're a smart man. You got your degree in something helpful that could help you get a job in the future.
it. Yeah.
I always, I always tell young actors, I'm like, get a degree and like, you can double major, you can minor in theater or anything like that, but just you have to think logistically, like get something that will help you get a job as soon as you're done with college, so that you don't
Right.
have to, work side job to side job.
Yeah.
So you got your degree in kinesiology, so and you still do sort of implement that as a trainer and things like that. So, what have you noticed? Like, are a lot of your clients actors or people in the industry?
It happens. Definitely out here. A lot of times I'm still training people online. So a lot of times it's people that I had trained with previously. Because there's a huge part to it, not only training them, but just being that motivating factor, almost, like a life coach, or,
Mm.
as far as like, hey, if they have questions, what should I do here? What should I do here? It's I mean, I'm a friend that motivates them is how I see it. And they know that because there's times where they're like, just like a good friend. They're like, I hate you, I hate you. Deep down, they love me, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I know out here, most of the clients are going to be actors. It's big. It kind of depends though, because a lot of the struggling actors don't want to pay the fees. So I
Yeah.
understand that as well.
Yeah. And with that, there are a lot of lots of actors have, unfortunately, myself included, like body image issues and things like that. So how have you, or what have you noticed has been sort of like a common issue among actors when it comes to sort of like physical appearance and things like that, or if you've like struggled with anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean nobody's 100% happy with where they're at. I mean, body dysmorphia is huge, and it's a funny thing because even majoring in kinesiology, most of the people I went to class with, wanted to. A lot of them end up becoming physical therapists and thing, but a lot, were like big into bodybuilding and stuff. And no matter what, 3% body fat,
Not
like
big
about
enough.
to die. Still, they're like, I look horrible. I hate it. And and then you take it out here where you're on screen and you audition 100 times to get one job sometimes, and so you hear no, 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 no. So of course it goes through your mind is it not working because should I change this? But no, as far as dealing with that, it's huge. I mean, I went through it when I was on Glow. I knew I was going to have a scene with a lot of my body showing.
Mhm.
And so, of course, I was like, I look good now. And they usually, when you book something, it's very quick when they start filming. I had about 3 months till I started filming. So I was like, all right. And I do not recommend this because they cast me for my looks at the moment. And then I lost over 20 pounds.
Really? Wow.
Probably not the smartest thing, but it was that thing that I go, they're going to see my abs. If I can have the most shredded look, this is going to possibly help me out in the future. And,
Mhm.
it's probably, I bet casting was like, this isn't the guy that we auditioned. What's going on? But,
Yeah.
lesson learned. Lesson learned early in the career, which was good.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like I know several friends who've been like, yeah, I'm gonna go keto for like a week to try and shed a couple pounds, and it's like, well, just they already hired you as you are, like it's not like you're playing a superhero and you're gonna train for 6 months before you start filming, it's like just
that is one of the biggest things is casting chose you out of 1,000 people they saw.
mm,
And so that's what they want. They want you. They don't want what you could be. And so most of the other than Glow, most of the other things that I've done have been like, hey, we're shooting in a couple weeks or short amount of time, so you don't have time to change. And like I said, casting directors, they're amazing at what they do. They're there for a reason, and so they don't want you to change. I mean, I went from like the all American kind of look to almost gaunt, and it was like, oh, that's not what they were going for.
mhm.
So yeah, but like I said, it happened to me early. I learned early and was like, oops, that's not what I should do. So it happens to everybody, even to professionals, the professional actor, the professional kinesiology major who should know better, but we all learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with some of your bookings from last year, you worked on a couple of sort of like TV movies and whatnot. One of them being Banking on Christmas, and the other being Blue Moon Ball.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that with every booking, no matter the size of the role, there's something to be learned during that process. So, what would you say during those projects that you sort of walked away learning?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. There's I don't think there's a class that you could learn as much as you do of actually being on set.
Yeah.
You can pay thousands and thousands, thousands of dollars, but things happen and then you go, well, how are we supposed to, things you never have questions to until it happens. So one thing that I learned was the first movie I ever shot where I was playing the leading role. It was actually Banking on Christmas, and it was it was a movie where we were in one area pretty much, and it was two people, and so we were like, well, how do we continue to make this entertaining for 90 minutes?
Mm.
And and it was just all these things going through your head, and it was the first thing, and I wanted to be great, and out of 90 pages, I have 85 pages of dialogue. And so it's a lot. And halfway through, what I realized was I already booked the role. Sit in the
Mhm.
moment, own it, own it. And that's what I tell every actor is I go, you're not auditioning for this anymore. You're not trying to prove that you can do it. They know you can do it. That's why you have the job. That's why they're pouring over $1 million or whatever, a ton of money. Multiple people have jobs on this. They didn't just eeny, meeny, miny, mo. They picked you for a reason, and own it. You don't, I remember there was a certain day where that morning they wrote in like is a pretty big monologue for me. And they're like, hey, we need to do this in the morning of, I already have 12 pages to read that day
Right.
or 12 pages to shoot. And so I got, that's crazy. And I remember the first time I shot it, I was, saying it. And it was, like I said, a big monologue. And I got stuck on the words. And I saw everyone behind the camera lean in because they were waiting to see what I said next. And then I go, oh, line. I forget line. And everyone goes, oh, and they go, I was so captivated by that.
Uh-huh.
Me, because I was honestly thinking. I wasn't reciting lines. I was actually trying to think of my next line. And that's what I realized. I said, you're not just spewing words out. It's like you honestly need to own it. And that's every time I work with other people, and they ask for any advice, that's it. I go, you already booked it.
Mhm.
I said, there's so much power in just, you don't have to blah, 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 through the lines. Just own it. There's so much power in that, and waiting, and for people to when you're hanging on words, not all the time, but sometimes there's a lot of power in that.
In terms of like misconceptions, I'm always fascinated to hear this type of thing. What have you noticed throughout your career that's like sort of like a myth that was debunked about the entertainment industry or about acting that
Ooh.
people still have a big sort of general feeling is true, but it's like completely nonsense?
Um, I'm gonna do this. This is more for everyone outside of acting because I
Mhm.
know I have friends who, financially and in their own life are doing very well, and they'll look at me and they're like, hey, you can never come hang out with us. You can never come do this. Why? And I'm like, I'm always auditioning. And they're like, how many times do you actually book something from an audition?
Yeah.
And I would always tell them, I go, well, here's the thing is it's a win when you get that audition because you're getting in front of a new casting director, new producers, all these people get to see me and see my talent and say, okay, there's a human who looks like him who's a talented actor, and we know that. And it was funny because for years I told my friends that, right? And I was like, people, they'll remember you. I said, and you're getting better and better, and they'll remember you. And actually, this year, I shot 4 movies. In 2022, we've shot 4 movies, and 2 of them were strictly offer only for me. And they were for casting directors that I had auditioned with over a year ago for a separate role.
Mhm.
So, they had seen me, they'd put me on a list. And then when something came up, they said, this is your guy. Oh, yeah. And then just strict offer, no more audition. It was just like offer only. And so
Yeah.
that was very cool because I've said it forever, and then for it to finally come to fruition, be real. And then I told my friends, I was like, see, that's why all those auditions you do, all those, always show up, always work as hard as you can, because it will, people remember that. Even if you're not right for this exact role, they'll remember you. And I had proof this year. I mean, that happened twice, and it was fun.
One of my favorite books that I always recommend actors is Jenna Fisher's book, The Actor's Life, A Survival Guide.
Yeah.
And something that she talks about was that before The Office, she had auditioned for Allison Jones like a dozen times, had done pilots and all of that. And her biggest advice for actors is to just keep your body of work consistent because then they know, like, they don't even have to look, you might not have to do the pre-read. They're like, no, we'll just call them in for the next round because we already know that they can do this and we just want to see them with this specific material. And at the same time, I think that a lot of people from outside the industry don't realize how many people get submitted for one role. And
Oh yeah.
then, like you said, the audition is the win because, anywhere from 3 to 5,000 people get submitted for a one line co-star on
Yeah.
Law and Order, maybe 50 appointments and then one booking. So like the chances of you getting just the audition is already like less than 1%, Uh, and people don't realize that. I feel like everyone sort of thinks that, I don't know what they think. It's just not the
Right.
reality of
Right.
the situation.
No, I mean, in any other career, if we put in, if you put in however many hours a week, let's say, you have 3 auditions a day, spend about 4 hours on that, it's 12. You do that 3, 4 times a week. I mean, if that was a normal job, putting in that much time, you'd be making a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? And so when I understand when my friends see that, is they're like, wait, what? But what, why don't you put that towards something else? I'm like, well, it's growing this thing. It's like
No.
I don't see it now, but in the future, but it's because they're like, you spend so much time on these things. I'm like, I understand. It will pay off, and it
Yeah.
has been. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when you get a lead in a film or a recurring guest star on a show or something, it's like, yeah, all of that work and this one booking is now I'm good for a year. It's
Right.
like the goals you have
Yeah.
in mind. Of course, not every actor is great with finance because they don't really teach any of us that in college. But you gotta make it work.
That's so true.
And again, given the name of our show, Actors with Issues, what comes to mind as a career obstacle or something that you've dealt with that you could shed some light on for our audience?
Oof. Actors with issues. Do not be a drama queen. Do not be rude. I don't understand. It's the more you work with people that are there, that are
Mm.
up there already. I've been lucky because they're the nicest people I've met. I mean, they may test you here and there just to see who you are, but they're nice. They're very nice people. The people that I've met that are the most rude, that are the most kind of scummy, that will try and stab you in the back, are way down here, and it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that it's like, just be a good person, do a good job, show up. It's a team effort. I've rarely worked with drama queens and things like that, but when it does happen, it's just that, like, you're when you work on a project, it's as an actor, you're one small piece of the puzzle.
Mm.
There's so many people that work together to make it, good. And if you're showing up and just causing chaos and mayhem, it's like, what do you think that you're so talented that they're going to continue to bring you on and, like, hey, that was the worst 4 weeks ever, but you know what? She can cry on cue or whatever. I mean, that no, it's. I mean, everyone's heard horror stories of that
Mm.
does happen, but I've been pretty lucky. But man, there've been a couple times, or just a couple people within the industry, and it's like, oh no, you think that trying to tear other people down is going to get you where you want? It's like, I had one of the last films we shot with very very talented heavy hitters from the 80s and 90s, and I was so lucky to work with them. I learned so much. But one thing they said is, it's not a mountain peak, it's a plateau. They said once you get there, there's so much room for everybody. They said you just got to get there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are at the very bottom and look up at that mountain, or think it's a mountain, don't understand it's a plateau, see that it's very daunting, and think that if I can step on other people and push people down, maybe it can get me up. But my whole career has been, someone helps me up to the next level. If I take a step up, I help them up as well. When I get to the top, I've always said this, I want to look around and see the people that I love and, like, we're here, we did it.
Yeah.
Everyone says lonely at the top. It doesn't have to be. I don't believe it has to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that if it's only at the top, it's because you made some decisions along the way that alienated you from people that cared about you and but and all of that. But yeah, I completely agree. I think that that's like the best feeling is when you succeed with other people. It's like there's that meme or that clip of Paul Rudd. I think he's on like on Hot Ones, like eating the hot wings, and he's
Look at
like,
us.
"Yeah, look at us. Who'd have thought? I didn't." Like, I love that because it's like last year, me and my best friend we both booked for like the first time since like before the pandemic at like the same time, and it was like, look at us, man. We're
Right?
we're we're having a great, kicking off 2021, starting the year off on the right foot. My driving book since then, so there there goes that. But you got to get used to the peaks and valleys, and all of that.
Absolutely.
It's We know what we're
Absolutely.
getting into. We know that it's not overnight success. It's, again,
Oh
everyone
yeah.
else outside the industry thinks that. Like, these actors came out of nowhere. I'm like, go look on their
Oh
IMDb. You'll see like 20 credits before this big one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something I did probably a couple months ago is I went back and bought all my favorite movies from the late '90s, early 2000s, movies that really shaped me, I
Mhm.
think. And watching those and being like, I didn't know he was in that. She's in that too.
Yeah.
Same thing, because eventually mid 2000s, late 2000s, you go, oh, they came out of nowhere, and it's like, no, remember, this,
Mhm.
this, 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 this. So yeah, it's definitely not overnight. It's overnight just because not everyone's eyes were on it.
Right.
So
Yeah. And so before we go, we always end with a quick game called Now That We Know You, since we've gotten to chat for a bit. So fill in the blank. If I weren't working in the arts, I'd be.
working as a strength conditioning coach for the NFL.
What role have you had the most fun playing?
Oh, um, my most recent one. We can't talk about the name yet, but sorry about that. But man, it was so fun. We were out in North Carolina for 3 or 4 weeks. Like I said, we were shooting with some heavy hitters who were
Mm.
very generous, very nice, very hardworking, and the role was great. I was dirty the whole time, and yeah, it was good.
What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
From my mom, when I was moving out to Los Angeles, I asked her, I said, if you give me one piece of advice, what would it be? She thought for a while on it, and she said, you can't please everyone, so don't even try.
Yeah. And what is the worst advice you've ever gotten?
um, hold my beer, or no, send it. I don't know, any of those, No, I really haven't got terrible advice. When I do, I just kind of nod my head, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at reading around that.
Yeah. It's like the greatest acting challenge ever when someone's giving you horrible advice and you're just like, uh-huh, sure.
Yeah. Oh, it really, yeah. It does take, it's Oscar winning, Oscar worthy performances. Yeah.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with any actor, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh. Any actor, dead or alive? Would Mel Brooks count? Mel Brooks definitely counts.
Yeah. He's been
Yeah.
he's acted before. Yeah.
He's acted in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
He's crazy. Yeah. Wow, I've never thought of that before.
And lastly, in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
10 words. So I'm gonna count on my fingers like a child now. Okay.
Everyone does,
Uh,
don't worry.
all right. 10 words or less advice. Um, don't let anyone stomp stop your dreams. And that's 6. You can do it.
Perfect. Awesome. Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. If anyone wants to give you a follow on social media, Instagram, where can they find you?
On social media, it's going to be at Eric Lutz and official. So Eric ERIC Lutz LUTZ official.
Awesome. And folks, you know the drill. You can follow us on Instagram at Actors with Issues. Give me a follow at Juan Ayala Official, and subscribe to our show on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, for new episodes every Monday and bonus episodes throughout the week. I'm Juan Ayala. That's Eric Lutz. This is Actors with Issues. We'll see you next week.